All right. Once again, it's on. Running with War, running another session, a quick session here this Monday. Um, probably just about an hour, so we usually go a little bit longer than that. But yeah, we just want to hit up a few things sort of left over from last week. But also, of course, get a reaction from the latest Bulls news. I think you all know what that is, with Markkanen getting traded finally. But yeah, we just we had a few things that we wanted to talk about last week, but that show sort of took on its own life, and it was a pretty interesting show. I definitely, if you haven't seen it or heard it on the podcast version on War on Anchor, I definitely recommend you do that because we got into some interesting places. It was not a show, not much, not like most shows that we've done in a good way. So shout out to Michael Tillery, and yeah, just we the interesting thing though is that I wanted to do some Bulls talk and some Sky talk last week, and it's kind of good that we didn't get to do that because I think if we had talked about them both of those teams last week, well maybe not the Bulls so much, but definitely the Sky, we probably would have been much more negative than we're going to be in this episode. So I think it's sort of the inverse of the old Jay-Z Too Short song. It was all good just a week ago. But it's more good now for it's more good, more gooder, better for both teams. I think right now than it was a week ago, and we're gonna get into that. And I want to talk too about some of the local basketball events that have happened here in Chicago this year and stuff. In the summer, I should say. Some of the stuff that have made the scene a little more interesting that we haven't got into. I know me and Josh have gotten around a couple of them and stuff. So sort of do that right quick. And I had a question too that I put on the rundown. You can see at the end. I kind of wanted to was interested in that in that right quick, but that sort of ties into the local basketball stuff too. Say keeping it local. That's the name of this episode. But yeah, just in that vein, we'll start off with the Bulls. Of course, like I said, the big news Friday, the broke of them trading Markkanen, and I think for a lot of people that was a sort of a hallelujah moment. But it was in the end, I think it was something good for Laurie and good for the Bulls. Something that if you look at the deal for all its pieces, the Bulls get Derrick Jones Jr. from Portland. Uh, there's a three-way deal. Of course, Portland involved with Cleveland and the Bulls. Bulls shipped off, signing trade, secured a 4-year, $67 million deal with Laurie, and doing that shipped him off to Cleveland. Cleveland sent Larry Nance Jr. To Portland, and some people would have liked maybe him to have been shipped to Chicago, but instead we got Derrick Jones Jr. But the Bulls did, I should say. I say we, but and the Bulls also got 2 future draft picks, which may be the key to this trade. Of course, the reports were in the time that nothing was happening with Laurie, that the Bulls were insisting on getting a future first round draft pick for him included in any deal, and they were able to get that in dealing Laurie. So I think a lot of people for that reason and for the reason of some people, I think to varying degrees, people are into Derrick Jones, but again, there are other people. I think maybe I think one of us here on our panel maybe I say more wistful that they didn't get Larry Nance Jr. But I don't know. With all that said, the Bulls pull out the trade. Laurie's gone. We don't have to deal with that no more. They get picks back, refurbish a little bit more of that draft capital that they stripped away in their recent deals this year. Most famously the deal to get Vucevic here. Uh, I don't know for you guys. What do you think about what happened, what developed, and do you think the Bulls are a better team in the wake of this better team, or have a better future outlook in the wake of that deal?
Your dude's moving silence like lasagna. AKA AKME has struck again. They've in a way hit the jackpot just like they've done before, making silent moves. And um, you know, just like they did with Borland, just like they did in the previous offseason, gave us a little bit of scared. I was a little anxious a little bit about what they're gonna do with that Laurie situation, but they pulled through. And like all the things you mentioned earlier, Kyle, as far as the draft compensation, being able to get a first rounder for him, and then an additional pick that from the Blazers is supposedly lottery protected, to be able to get those picks back for Laurie, which seemed impossible from many people that have spoke on the situation before, and probably would have agreed if we had the previous regime. Yeah, you can give nothing but a thumbs up. I love the fact that they stuck to what they were looking for, even in trades, when it comes to the versatility as well as 3-and-D potential players. Derrick Jones is a very versatile player and is a good wing perimeter defender. I don't know how offensively he can fit in, but I think the fact that he adds additional depth and from a versatility perspective and being able to play on multiple positions on the court. And I also like the fact that it does still leave some flexibility on the table, just because outside of this trade, there's rumors still going on even today talking about how the Bulls are trying to look at getting Paul Millsap to come through, another big veteran that can play in the same role or similar role that Laurie was bringing to the table. So to be able to utilize that option potentially as well, this is a win-win. I think Laurie will thrive in Cleveland. I think he will be able to, do what he's supposed to do on a team that is likely around his age and skill sets. And the fact that, the Bulls are upgrading. I mean, at this point, even if it is Derrick, I love the idea of Larry Nance Jr. being here. But the fact that even if it is Derrick Jones Jr., the fact that the Bulls revamped the whole roster in a year and made it far better than what it was before. I'll take anything at this point. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to sit there and celebrate the fact that we actually have a promising front office that is willing to put their money where their mouth is and do it strategically enough to where now the Bulls are now a prominent franchise that has a bright future ahead of them once again.
Yeah, Drew, let me say this right quick, Drew, before I let you go. I want to jump off that last point with you, Josh. Like, it's been like what, a year and a half since Acme was installed in the front office, and they now have the team, at least to start. They have the team that they want for 21-22, and they have the team set in their image now. Their vision now, and yeah, it is like you said, Josh. It is very impressive the way that they moved in this short time. They moved with purpose. They moved, with confidence. They moved unlike anything that we've seen. I don't think we saw any year or year and a half period of the Garpax regime that is comparative to this. That nothing compares to what they did, and is like you said, there was some times where you could question some of the moves, and but I personally was never one to really question, even with the with the Vucevic trade, a lot of people was worried about stuff like draft capital and everything. But, the great thing is that, Acme has proven that the fans don't know more than them. Sometimes with Packs, the fans were proving that they did know more than those guys, but Acme has proven that they actually a step ahead of us in our criticisms or questions or whatever. They are on the ball. And, for them to make the moves that they made early in the year and put themselves at risk of being exposed in the summer, in this free agency period, but they went and got it done. They got the point guard that they needed. They got the backup point guard that they needed. They got the wing, the wing versatility and scoring that they needed on starting level with LaRose, and then with Jones as well now on the bench. They don't have that backup or that possible starter at the 4 yet, but like Josh said, Millsap is still very much in play, and that could be like a perfect finish to this free agency period, this year of reconstruction. But even if they don't do that, I think this team is still built very much better than they were last year when Eversley and AK came on, and they are a team that's ready to compete in the East for the playoff spot. They're expected to get a playoff spot in the East now, and that that alone is saying something there big time. And also, again, with these picks that they picked up, those 2 picks alone, even though one is a second rounder, but the versatility, the flexibility, I should say, that comes with that, being able to possibly deal those picks for other talent, or simply to use the picks for younger talent that's going to be controllable by their rookie deals in the future. There's a generation of talent that's going on now in youth that looks much more it looks much more promising than anything that we've seen in quite a long time with this franchise. But I just want to get that off. But Drew, what were your thoughts?
Everything you guys said is spot on. I think it was important that AK was able to get some of those picks back that he has already used on Vucevic and DeRozan. I think between those 2, he sent out 3 picks. So being able to recoup some draft capital, along with getting an athletic player like Derrick Jones Jr., who can guard probably anywhere from the 1 through the 4. My only thing is, and Vegas can't be choosers, Derrick Jones Jr. and Troy Brown Jr. are pretty similar. So
repetitive.
Yeah, neither one of them are very good shooters. I do remember seeing that. I want to say it's the left corner. Those guys kind of favor. They're pretty good clip from the corners, which depending on the offense or whatever sets that Donovan is able to cook up, that could be of some use. But Jones Jr., like I said, if he comes in and he's able to give some backup minutes at the 4 behind Patrick Williams, or if they get Millsap and maybe he slides to 3rd on the power forward depth chart, or maybe you find a way to swing him into the small forward somewhere. Like, it's still, to you guys' point, it's still a better situation than what it would have been if Laurie was still here. It's a better situation than what Donovan had to work with last season. And they what's up?
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and just to get back to the front office, like it's incredible. Like, they've done everything they've wanted to do. Maybe not when they wanted to do it, but they've eventually been able to get it done. When the things we heard about Markkanen was that they didn't want to take back a bad contract. They wanted some draft assets, and they were able to do that for a guy that it looked like he might be walking, without the Bulls getting anything in return. So they kind of been like magicians, man. this offseason. And they're a deeper team now. They got a lot of flexibility, a lot of different rotations that I'm excited to see what Donovan does with. So, it's been a hell of an offseason. No real complaints. No real complaints.
Yeah, it's been entirely productive, man. And I was wanting, what I wanted to ask you was sort of going forward, and like I said, the free agency period, the off season already has been great. It's an A, I would say, but it could stand to be an A plus with one more move that fills out the roster. Now, do you think getting Millsap should be at a premium? The Bulls are in the running for them. There've been some reports like them and two other teams. I forgot the other two. Maybe the Nets or some other team, but contending teams are in the running for Millsap. Do you think the Bulls should put a premium on him, or should they, like you mentioned, sort of try to, target another, a more highly skilled shooter? Be it, they got a pretty busy backcourt as it is, but and most of the people you will look at that are guards, like a JJ Redick is out there, or Wesley Matthews, but should the Bulls maybe go in that direction, even more so than getting like a Millsap?
I would prefer for them to keep trying to solidify the front court, that depth. I think Millsap should be at the head of their list because he can do, even though he's a little bit longer than two, he can still shoot. He's a veteran. He's savvy, knows how to play defense, even if he's not a lockdown defender. Beyond him, maybe an Aaron Baines type who's, not really going to give you much offensively, but he's a big body that can kind of to fill that lane when Vucevic is out of the game. But I'm also interested to see what Bradley can do, man. He looks athletic. He tore the Bulls up when Embiid was out one of those times they played last season.
Okay, I think I remember that.
Yeah, so he could be promising too. He kind of could be the forgotten man a little bit for good reason, because he's not a big name or anything like that, or had a chance to really shine. But I think they need to fill out that front court. That should be the first thing. Lamarcus Aldridge, I'm not a huge fan of bringing him in, not even because of the health conditions, but I don't know what he gives you outside of shooting. That would be the only reason I would bring him in, just because he could give you an offensive punch, something different in that low post when he gets in the game. So that's another option too if he clears.
That'd be a nice circle of poetic, some poetic justice there, poetic circle of there, because he should have been a Bull, back when he was drafted. But
it really would. And if the Bulls were to get Aldridge or Millsap, and again you spoke to what Millsap's market is looking like. We don't necessarily know. I don't think what Aldridge's prospects look like. But if one of those two guys pick the Bulls over like going to the Nets or a team that looks to be in better position to contend for a championship, man, it's just man. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's the type of thing that we also like, the perception of the Bulls. We wanted that to change, in the wake of changing over from guard packs. But yeah, go ahead, Josh.
No, I'm just saying I completely agree. I think the Bulls need to bolster up that front court. And you obviously guys mentioned Paul Millsap being a good ideal fit, or Lamarcus Aldridge being a good fit. To bearing that his health is truly in good condition, he does get cleared. But there's other big men that I don't think the Bulls should really count out. I mean, when you talk about maybe DeAndre Jordan being bought out, of course he's going to want to probably go to a big contender per se. But he was attached to the Lakers. They just signed Rajon Rondo. I don't know what their roster space is looking like. Kevin Love may be on a buyout market soon. He's talking about going to Brooklyn, but and the fact that that you mentioned.
Well, Love does, because I know the other day his representation was like he didn't want to get bought out because he stands to make like 30 a year. So I don't know if that's changed. Has that changed over the last day or so?
No, but I feel like it would eventually when he's not playing.
When Larry's taking his minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a front court that has Jared Allen, Larry Markkanen, and Evan Mosley. He's not going to be seeing that court much especially if he's still trying to come off that injury. I just don't see that happening.
But he may be just like, hey, let me get that 30 mil in. I'll just be here when y'all need me. You know?
Right.
Just give me them checks in the meanwhile.
True. That's very true. But I do think he still has something to prove, and he wants to prove that he can still.
He should. I mean, yeah. I would like that. He should want to play on a contending team again. Not, because I don't know. We know Love has had his issues with certain things, mentally. Right. But I would hope that he's not like just wanting to go out like that. I feel you on that, job.
Yeah, like I said, it's just an option per se that could potentially happen. But the fact that those players, along with the players we mentioned earlier, that could potentially be available for the Bulls disclosure, the fact that we've made the moves that we've made, and the fact that the Bulls now are becoming more of a prominent franchise to look forward to, even if it is just for one season, considering the fact that we are in the Eastern Conference and you do have an Olympian in Zach LaVine and top 5 shooting guard according to rankings that came out today, as well as DeMar DeRozan and the excitement of Lonzo Ball running your offense like that. Those moves that the Bulls have made, like I said, they're very prominent, and it has a future down the road that attached to it. And the fact that the front office has the respect that it has now, and Chicago is becoming that much more relevant, it is going to be a franchise where big time free agents are going to consider. And for a deal like that for a roster spot like that may be potential, especially for people that are going through that buyout situation, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually took a look at the Bulls. And I wouldn't be surprised if Acme, looks into it as well and at least tries to make a pitch, because they've shown that even if it is in silence, they will be aggressive in all the areas necessary to at least see what options are available. And if the options look nice, they will exploit it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes those players, including the ones you mentioned earlier, become available, and maybe the Bulls will look into it.
Yeah, they don't stand still. And I think another example of that is them being at least rumored to be in the Millsap, in the game for Millsap, because again, I hate to mention the previous regime, but it's a good way to compare, what you want to see in the front office and what you don't want to see. And I think if the previous regime, if they did half the things that Acme has done in this offseason, they would have already rested on their laurels and been like, "Oh, we good," But Acme they've kept working, and they've kept grinding, and like I said, they could finish off this off season by picking up Millsap or comparable talent. That'll be great. And I'm with you guys as far as I think that's the whole of the field. You really up the professionalism on the team with Millsap as well, and the experience, the big game experience. You really would have a nice mix of players who don't have much playoff experience and don't have much of that big game experience, with a nice mix of players who do, with DeRozan and Millsap and even Caruso to a degree. He's played in the finals, so that'd be dope to see the roster round up in that way, and not just not just pocket the money too. That's another old Bulls thing. If they could save that money, they would save it. But no, they spend it now. So yeah, let's get that talent in. But you said what was that, something?
No, I was just saying, yeah, man, it feels good, man. It feels good. A lot of the not every front office in town is looking. None of the front offices in town, I don't think, are looking this great. Maybe the White Sox.
Yeah, you gotta get a White Sox credit.
You got to give Rick Hahn some credit. But yeah, another Reinsdorf.
Yeah, I mean that's
so.
How many times have both Reinsdorf teams looked this proactive? That's not something going way back. You know, that's kind of hard to see. But yeah, well, I wanted to speak about actually before we get into the sky and everything. I want to, in rounding out our NBA talk this week, I wanted to see what you guys thought about the other transactions in the league, if anything stood out to y'all or anything. There have been like a bunch of, extensions. There have been some other, like say, some buyouts and stuff, and players have been traded and being bought out. Like I think the latest one, Rondo, looking like he's returning to the Lakers after being traded to the Grizzlies and being bought out there. But a lot of the extensions have jumped out to me. I got a list of transactions up on my phone right now from NBA.com, and I'll read off some of the guys who've been extended recently. Julius Randle. Let's see. Terry Rozier. Marcus Smart. I think. Let's see. Embiid. Yeah, Embiid was a big one. Like, there's been some interesting moves. I think teams that have been in sort of different positions from the Bulls have been able to, having some sort of talent that they were in a position to extend, or, not necessarily being as active on the free agent market or the trade market, but having a talent that they know other people would sort of want down the line and sort of locking them up, for an extended period. I was just wondering if is anything to that degree jumped out at you guys, and what impact do you think those moves had?
One duo that also got extended on the same team, I might add, Josh's favorite team in the NBA outside of Chicago, the Atlanta Hawks. They extended both Trae Young and John Collins, man. Yeah. I really like what their front office is doing, showing a lot of confidence in Trae Young. They remade their roster last offseason. And every team's got to have a certain amount of balls bounce their way, and you saw what happened with them. Had Trae Young not got injured, they might have been playing in the finals. So just to see an organization show that type of faith in a young star, I think that's a feel-good story. Even though I'm one of those guys that I hesitate to put a lot of stock in small guards and their ability to lead their teams to the finals, unless his name is Steph Curry. But it's just difficult. It's just difficult when you got a little guy kind of running the show. Other than that, in addition to that, the Lakers, they're picking up all these guys that have got tons of years of experience, not necessarily in the roles that they're going to have to play for this team. So just watching to see how they get to the playoffs, and how these lineups work, how Westbrook plays, how he fares as a third option alongside AD and LeBron. Can AD stay healthy? Because there's a lot of people throwing dirt on Anthony Davis's name coming off last year. I just don't understand, man. I don't know if it's because he like the Packers or what it is, man. But
that's why it happens here. Yeah.
So I think those two come to my mind just off the jump.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, a very hidden story that hasn't really been talked about a lot is about someone that actually has not gotten an extension. That's Colin Sexton in Cleveland. I think that's very, very interesting, considering the fact that he did have a career year this year, this past season with the team. And although the team, it's the Cavs, so they're not winning a lot of games. But when he was drafted, they dreamed of having him in the backcourt with Darius Garland as the Eastern Conference's Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. So to be able to have that in your backcourt, or at least somewhat of a caliber talent in your backcourt, and you haven't extended him, but you extended Jared Allen, and you just gave Larry Markkanen this 4-year deal that you just traded in the sign and trade. I don't know if they're really truly investing in what they originally have envisioned. And if that's the case, I wonder what's going to happen with Colin Sexton moving forward, especially after this year, because if he does very well this year, next year's free agency pool was hot, but it changed because of all these deals. So he actually may be a prime free agent next year that might be able to get a nice deal somewhere that someone's going to be willing to give him that bag. So it's not going to be Cleveland. So I'm interested to see what that situation turns out. And the fact that he did not get this extension really speaks a lot to what's really going on in Cleveland compared to how they truly feel about him compared to the original vision that they had of him in the backcourt with Darius Garland. So I think that's something that's very that's not talked about enough, but it's actually, I think, a pretty big deal in Cleveland.
There've been some whispers throughout the off season of them unloading one of those young guards, in particular Sexton. But like you say, Josh, it seems like they moved more of their vision towards the front court, and what they got. You got a still young guy like Jared Allen there. You pick up Laurie. You draft Mobley. Mobley was sort of winds up being the centerpiece because that was a place where they had a decision where they could have made. They were like, okay, do we go this route with Mobley, or do we go maybe more towards the wing? And they may be looking in a year or two like, okay, maybe we should holler at Kuminga or something like,
Man, I didn't catch a lot of summer league games, but that boy is serious.
Yeah. He showed out. So, but I guess they at the moment they feel comfortable with Mobley, and Mobley's a lot of gifts for him that he brings along. So he could be a big get for them as well, big talent for them going forward. So we'll see what Cleveland. I wouldn't mind seeing Sexton move somewhere just to slow down their rebuild a little bit, But also like it seems to me like it still may take a while for them to figure out how to play, next to each other, and Cleveland may not want to wait that long. So yeah, like you say, that's definitely a good idea, Josh, as far as a developing thing that could happen over the next year or so. And to that degree, you mentioned how the effect on future free agent classes and stuff like that. Like it was interesting to me too. When I was looking through the list and I was thinking of deals that I wanted to mention. What do y'all think right quick about Kawhi locking himself down in LA? There's definitely reason why you would think he would do that, but also, by his patterns in recent years, you could also been like, well, maybe he could have got himself, maybe he would have stuck to a certain pattern and allowed himself to be a free agent after next season, and put himself back on the market. Even though he's likely going to miss the entire year coming up, you could look at a certain situation like the Kevin Durant situation. I think teams will look at that and be like, even coming off of this injury, you still got Kawhi Leonard, who have a chance. You still have an All-NBA guy, a franchise guy who you can swipe up in the next year or so. So that would have led to a good market for him. But he says no to that. He locks himself up with LA. So I don't know. Anything that y'all glean from that?
I think just setting aside the money because I don't know if he stood to make more by doing what he did now as opposed to entering free agency, or the Clippers could have offered him more depending on when he decided to do that. But setting that aside, I think it shows that he has a lot of faith in, number one, Paul George, and maybe 1A, Tyronn Lue, and what they've been doing over there in Clipperland, which is not something that we can say most players have felt for that organization for the most of the time that they've been in existence. But I think it just speaks to that. Like I said, big for Paul George, coming off the playoff performances that he had and the way he carried that team, until they got knocked off by Phoenix. But I think it's a good look. It's a good look for Kawhi, and it's definitely a good look for the Clippers to keep that kind of championship caliber roster or core intact.
Yeah, 4 years, 176.3 mil. That's big money, and it sort of secures him being a Clipper for the remainder of his definitely coming out of his prime. He'll be coming out of his prime as a Clipper, and he'll be his main competitive years. You think going forward are going to be as a Clipper. After that, I don't see how impactful he's going to be at the center of a championship team in 4 more years. But we'll see. But yeah, Josh, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I honestly think it's just a matter of comfort. I think for him, he's been reporting he always wanted to be home. He's home in LA.
Yeah, Southern Cali. Yeah. He got the helicopter from San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's just enjoying his life where it's at. He might have also been securing himself because of the fact he had an ACL injury, as well. Not knowing since he has a history of injuries since he's been a Clipper, just a matter of trying to maintain and get as much as he can while he can. Probably played a role in it as well. But outside that, I think he's just comfortable. He's home. The Clippers are building their own brand now, where they are going to eventually be leaving Staples Center. They're going to eventually get their own arenas. They're going to get their own. They already have their own practice facilities and stuff, but they're going to get their own arenas. They're going to get their own fan bases now. For him to market Kawhi as the centerpiece of that, that's going to be huge for them. And the fact that the Clippers were able to lock that up, and they do have an owner that he's willing to spend the big money when necessary. So to have that luxury of an owner and the front office that, like Drew mentioned, he's comfortable with, and the coaching staff that he's comfortable with, and the fact too, they did extend Paul George. So to be able to extend Paul George with the run that he had this past playoffs, I think it was just too good of a situation for Kawhi to pass up, especially since he is injury prone and he has had this ACL injury that's going to keep him out all next year. It just seemed like it was the right scenario regardless. It doesn't matter where he would go, really.
Yeah. And that's why I said at the beginning, he definitely had his reasons to re-up at this particular time. And, for the Clippers, they know how good they have it with him, and having him locked up with George, and they gonna ride with those guys for the near future. So we'll see how that goes for them. But coming up, like I said, we only doing about an hour. Drew had to mute himself. I don't know what that noise that was about to pop up.
That's the dog that think he a killer all of a sudden, man. I don't know. Every little noise he hears, man.
You have to watch yourself, man. We already 40 minutes into the show here, so let's move over into the Sky right quick. And I was looking at their schedule, and the Saturday before we did our last show, last Monday, they had a pretty tough loss here at home, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was home to Minnesota, 101-95. It was a second straight loss, and the second loss of 3 games coming out of the Olympic break. So you know, when I did the rundown for this show last week, I was like, you know, the Sky are limping out of the break or whatever, and you know, that would have set the tone for how I would have had that discussion, of course. But you know, we didn't have that discussion, and since then, they've won 3 straight, including 2 at the defending champion Seattle Storm, and their game Sunday is they gave the Storm their worst home loss ever, 107-75. So it's got to be one of the biggest wins for the Sky ever as a franchise. Like they got their best performance to date from Candace Parker. They just had 25 points. Quite a few other stats filling up. Let me look right quick. But yeah, I was shocked. I didn't get to watch the game. Yesterday, but it was both of the games really in Seattle were pretty surprising. They stole the Friday game. I watched that game, and though they really shouldn't have won that game Friday. And of course, like I say, the big win on Sunday. Let me get the stats. You know, Parker 25 and 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Vandersloot 13 points, 10 assists. Kind of using for her. They had 6 players in double figures. Diamond DeShields had a nice game that we definitely want to see more from her. 16 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. I say all that to say, look, this is a team that's 14-12. Their record is, I say not that great, but it's not a bad record in regards to the WNBA standings. I think people recognize the talent that they have. They recognize, whenever you watch them play, the announcers always make sure that they delineate the record from that they have with Candace Parker and without Candace Parker. Candace sat out a game last week, because of I think a bad knee or something, and they lost that game. But they say keep winning with her. Like she's had her best performance to date. On just yesterday, the question I put this week is: have we seen the best of this team yet? Are they gearing up for a championship run right now? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think they definitely are. You go as far as your leaders can take you. And Candace Parker is one that's been known as to always be the top leader on every team she's played on the teams that she's played for, and it's led to championship success or deep playoff success. So the fact that the Chicago Sky have been able to ride that wave for her as long as she's been healthy, shows that as long as the team is fully healthy, they're capable of winning any game on any given night at any level. Especially when you talk about the versatility that they have with the wing player Kalia Cooper and Diamond DeShields. If they can both get going and Vandersloot continue to be the Steve Nash-esque point guard that we know that she could be. And then you got the shooting of Ali Quigley as well. You got a solid bench play when you talk about the backup point guard with Lexi Brown, and you talk about the emergence of Stephanie Dolson and Ezra Stevens. They have talent. They have top quality talent, and to be able to finally play it all together, even though they may not be in their best form yet, like you mentioned, Kyle, I do believe that they're gearing themselves up for a deeper playoff run. And the biggest key to that is making sure that everyone is healthy. And when everyone is healthy, the Sky are a dangerous team no matter who they play. So it's a good start to that build up. But can they maintain it? Because at the end of the day, if Candace Parker is not healthy, this team's not going to go that far. And they've proven that with their record this season. Even though they have the capabilities and the talent to sort of overcome that, they haven't been able to. So that's the biggest concern that I'm really worried about. Can Candace Parker, not just the team, but Candace Parker individually, can she stay healthy enough for the Sky to be able to maintain this flow that's leading up to a potential deep playoff run? As long as they do that, they're good.
Right quick. I just want to go over the standings. Like I said, the Sky got a 14-12 record it's the sixth best record overall in the league, but it's the second best record in the Eastern Conference. The Connecticut Sun, which have not let up after their great start. They're 20-6, so they're running away with the Eastern Conference. But Sky, like I said, second best record in that on that side of things. On the West side, you got the Aces, of course, Storm, of course, 19-7. The Aces lead the Western Conference. Storm 18-10. The Lynx are always competitive, 15-9, and the Mercury, who was the next opponent for the Sky, 15-10. So that's if the Sky want to move up in the the overall rankings, the Mercury are right there. So it's like for them to possibly overtake maybe this week. But like I said, where they're sitting right now, they're a playoff team, and they're going to be a hard team to deal with, regardless of where they're at the playoffs. But you definitely want to probably get in that top four to help your security in the playoffs. Yeah,
coincidentally, if the playoffs started today, they'd be playing Seattle in that first round. And I think is it a single game? Is that first round single game elimination?
I believe so. No.
2 or 3, best out of 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to look that up right quick, but because they see the change it every year.
Man, I know, right? But no, this is what we wanted to see. This is what we've been waiting for. Injuries, the Olympic break have kind of, had put a damper on things to this point. They beat the Storm coming out of the Olympic break, but the Storm didn't have Bird. They didn't have Breanna Stewart, who was kind of the front runner for MVP. So this is what we wanted to see, man. The best performance that they've had all season came against the reigning champions in the reigning champions arena. So that speaks volumes. It's also big, and it kind of shows what this team is capable of. That on this 3-game winning streak, they've had 3 different leading scorers. Quigley was going crazy, coming out of the Olympic break. James Wade has tried different starting lineups, plugging in Quigley in the starting lineup. I think he plugged in Azurá Stevens as well. So he's starting to tinker with things. Things are starting to come around. I like most Sky observers or Sky fans, we just want to see this team hit a stride going into the playoffs. And they've got the Aces after the Mercury. I believe their next 2 games after that are against the Aces. So those another stiff test and another indication or another what am I trying to say? That second half schedule was busy, man. And it's
we talked about that earlier, and that was easy to look at, during the break. They pretty much backloaded their schedule with the Aces and Storm games. It's like, man, that's gonna be rough for them. So
they got the Lakers too, and Deladon is back. So.
Yeah. But it's a good sign to see that they played 2 games out in Seattle and won them both, and definitely, like I said, good sign and good sign of development. But I'm looking at the WNBA website and what they have as far as their format. They've had apparently the format system. It seems like they change it. They do something to it every year, but apparently they've had the same format since 2016. It's 4 rounds, 4 playoff rounds, and the top 2 seeds receive byes to the semifinals, the 3rd round. The first 2 rounds are single elimination. So and it starts with the 5th seed going against the 8th seed and the 6th seed going against the 7th seed. So it's the top 8, and they have the conferences, but they take the top 8.
AAU tournament.
Yeah, it's a lot, but they basically take the top 8 regardless of the conference, even though they have the conferences. They take the top 8 teams, and in the first 2 rounds, those bottom 4 teams basically duke it out to get to that, to that semifinal round with the top 2 teams.
So they do what people wanted the NBA to do.
Essentially, yeah, and there's reseeding too. That's another thing a lot of people have wanted the NBA to do. So
I wonder why they do a single elimination. That's man.
Because I think the league they haven't had the confidence to be like, the NBA, they know they could put out 7-game series at every round and they'll get all the ticket sales and all the TV that they want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the WNBA feel that the demand is there for them at this point. It would be nice if at some point they can extend it to maybe a 3-round or 3-game or 5-game round.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's more of a popularity thing and a TV thing as far as them. And plus the way they have their season, that their end of the season goes into football. So it's you don't want to compete with it. So
yeah,
the baseball too, so they got more competition at the end of their season than the NBA does.
That's a good point. That's good.
So, but we'll see. We'll be paying attention to it here in Chicago because we'll have the Sox, but the Bears may be pretty stressful for at least a few weeks. So
can we? I know we're a hooping show. Can I get your opinion, Mr. Kyle Means, on Justin Fields?
Oh yeah, you saw him play up front. You got the view that we didn't get. So yeah, I want to hear this too.
I don't think I saw much that anybody else hasn't seen. I right quick. I mean, I sort of wavered on it at points, but I think might as well put him out there. Like but the thing with this team and his coaching, they didn't even put him in a position to really compete for the starting position. They're all about their plan. When they have a plan, they stick to the plan. They stick to the narrative. They're very Republican that way. They stick to their storylines very faithfully, and there's no second guessing and everything. So they're going to do what they're going to do. I think it's going to mostly depend on Dalton, because Dalton's going to have to. I think he's going to have to work with a game plan and a play caller in Nagy who at any time could throw him under the bus and really just put him in a bad position to where we could see Fields starting that first game in Soldier Field in week 2, coming off of a horrible performance in the week 1 against one of the best defenses and one of the best pass rushers of all time in Aaron Donald in the LA Rams. That could be a very embarrassing opener for the Bears if they don't watch out, because and they haven't done much in that preseason, to my opinion, to prepare themselves for this opener. So we have to keep our fingers crossed. But I think the overall narrative of this season coming up is going to be about Fields, and it's a matter of when he'll take the job as opposed to if, because it's just too obvious at this point. He's better than Dalton, and what Dalton has to offer is not going to keep Fields off the field for too long. So. Yeah. So that's my Bears. I gave y'all a little Bears taste, but we'll have other shows for that coming up with our Bears talk and stuff. But yeah, let's keep it to the hoop side here. Like I said, well, we just doing a quick hour here, and we got a few minutes left. I just wanted to shout out, some of the Pro-Ams and some of the tournaments that have been going on here in the city. Some of the other events that have taken place in the summer. Me and Josh got to see the Big 3 earlier in the month it was pretty cool. Now, like I said, at the beginning of the Big 3 year, it wasn't a year that their schedule. They didn't have a trip to Chicago on it, but they sort of switched it up mid. That's the cool thing about being the Big 3 as opposed to the NBA. You can sort of switch things up in the middle of a season and take just say, hey, we'll do a trip to Chicago, and it seems like they really like the market here, and they get a good crowd here. They did get a good crowd at the UIC pavilion. Oh, it used to be UIC, but it was like Credit One Arena or something now. But we were there. We were kicking it with John Sally, and Josh got a lot of good pictures too. I didn't even put my pictures up, man. I should at least put the picture up of me and Josh. That was a good picture, but all the rest of my pictures, Josh put to shame. Josh, he's a straddler, man. He'll get up with you and be like, "Oh, take this picture with me, bro." And, he know how to get them good pub pictures for IG. So I ain't mad at you, but yeah, that was a good one. And then he got another one a couple of weeks later at the Shy League. Shout out to everyone at the Shy League. Shout out to Jabba. I wanted to get him on the show, man. He's so hard to pin down, but shout out to him. He's had a great summer marrying Val Warner, and getting this tournament off the ground. He told me at the first week it took at least 2 years. I think maybe said like 5 years. So like he's put a lot of work in to bring that tournament back. And I think the city needs it. The city, it brings like I say, the tradition of the Pro-Ams in the summer Pro-Ams in Chicago is pretty. It's a big history there, and at Chicago State in particular, having it at that arena was dope. People, Dreamville, had their little connection to it. We didn't get to see Cole hooping for some reason. I would have appreciated that, but we got to see. Josh got to hook up with the old boy Supreme Dreams, who's famous for the Cole, the Jermaine Cole. Well, Josh, there's some celebrities there and stuff, and like I said, a lot of fun. Josh wound up going the last 2 weeks. I wasn't able to make it the 3 weeks of play, 3 Sundays, and I went to the first one, and Josh went to the latter 2. Right quick, Josh, what were your thoughts on how things went down there, and what you observed from? I think you got to see what THT play and a couple others.
Yeah. It was a good overall experience, especially for it to be like the first year in a very long time since you had this shit, like you mentioned, since we had a Pro-Am in the city. So it was definitely a good comeback experience. Yeah, Taylor Horton Tucker played. And the last week was funny because you know how that viral shot of Jeremy Pargo.
Yeah.
My man showed up to the game at halftime. He showed up to the game at halftime with this iced out watch, just warming up like, yo, my bad, I'm late to the game. And just
Pargo showed up at halftime, he said.
Yeah, Pargo. Yep.
He was warming up with the watch on?
Warming up with the watch on, just iced out, came at halftime, and just went nuts.
Wow.
It was a crazy experience. But now overall, it was great. It was great to enjoy that time. Link up with some other people that are very well respected in the game and very connected with WARR. Cameron Smith, now at Stadium full time doing his thing. Be able to link up with Gene and the Bigs over there as well. It was and Jabba and other guys. It was a great overall turnout. And to see that talent, that Chicago talent, I hope we get to see more of that next year, but not just that specific talent, but other superstar talent. You talk about big Pro-Ams like they will have in Seattle like Jamal Crawford's in Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, all those other top tier players like Isaiah Thomas and those guys come into those Pro-Ams and the Drew leagues to really show out and ball out. I hope Chicago can get back to that type of level where they can have those top tier superstars come to Chicago to play. And obviously, Taylor Horton-Tucker is the biggest one, and he is a Chicago guy, especially. And he won coming from Simeon, winning that championship with the Lakers and Bron, and got that nice paycheck, securing the bag this offseason to stay in LA. But I hope we get more top tier talent like that, and even at a higher scale, be able to participate in those Pro-Ams and really, give the fans something that, at the end of the day, something to really look forward to outside of just this. That's why I said it was a great startup, but obviously it could be better.
You definitely, we want to see that every summer. Like, there's no reason not to see it, and I think, it was real. Like I said, going back to the organization and everything, you had Wilson, which is not official basketball of the NBA, was a part of it as well in Greenville. So they really showed out there. I want to, and like I say, the organization was well, and I think the turnout was well and everything. I think no reason we shouldn't see that Pro-Am come back. I want to shout out to Chicago United Pro-Am, which was doing a lot of games over on the west side of the Hope Academy. And I didn't make it out there actually, but I was following them on IG throughout the summer, and they had a lot of talent too. Some pro talent show up there. Kevin Porter Jr., Fonzo McKinney, quite a few college players out there. Adam Miller, who transferred from Illinois to LSU, gonna be playing there in the fall. He was there, I think, one of their last weeks. So that's another Pro-Am that's pretty impressive by their organization. They've been doing it for a couple of years now. So yeah, that type of stuff, man. If you a hoop head, man, look out for that type of stuff, man. And we'll try in the future to try to cover stuff like that. And it's the type of stuff that helps you shake up your summer and give you a little something extra to rock with, when there's not so much else going on in the city. But to that degree, I had the question. I put it on the rundown at the end. Like, I just kind of want to get y'all opinion, y'all answers on that. Like, have y'all picked up any balls this summer? Have y'all hooped at all?
One time.
One time.
I've been the guy that says, if I'm retired, I'm retired. I've hung my shoes.
You too young. You too young for that, man.
And I went through that whole, process. Like, I played competitive basketball all my life for the most part, all the way up until like my sophomore year of college. So doing that training.
You played at Roosevelt, right?
Yeah. So doing all the training that I did and the constant workouts and everything, when I was finally able to hang it up with no regrets, I lived my life. I lived my best life all the way up until now. So me touching the basketball was an afterthought. But it also made me realize I need to get back to doing that. So I'm gonna make a better effort to get back onto the court and over time. But that
was part of my thinking in putting that question out there, because I think we got to set a better standard for ourselves if we're gonna talk the game and everything week after week. I definitely need to play again. It's been too long since I played consistently, and I just need to be. I could use it to just to keep myself in some type of shape, because it gets harder every the year. I think me and Drew could speak to this. We're square in our 30s. When you get the higher you get up there, is the harder it is to want to do anything. And the more the different responsibilities you have on your plate and everything, it sort of makes you like, well, damn this, whatever free time I get, I'm keep it to myself. But basketball is such a great way to remain vital and keep yourself in shape and keep yourself young. So I definitely, I'm getting too close to 40, man. I have to think of these things, but I'm like, okay, I might have to become just the old thick guy on the court who just throws his button to the young guys and just hovers around the basket and get 5 minutes at a time, and just to get my exercise, man. I gotta do something, man. So I'm ashamed. I haven't touched the ball, and I don't know when the last time I touched the ball, man. But I gotta do it again soon. But Drew, when's the last time you hooped?
So before, I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I was going fairly consistently on Sundays.
Okay.
But before that, it had been at least a couple years, man. So that first day, that first Monday after hooping, my body felt every minute.
That's the thing, too. Man. You can't do nothing the next day.
If I didn't know I was old, if I didn't know I was looking down a barrel of 40, man, that did it. That day.
Right. You can't hoop 2 days in a row, like
not at all. No
recovery day.
Load management.
Load management. No back-to-backs. You
got to choose. Either I'm coming to hoop Sunday or Monday. You can't get both, brother.
Yeah. That's why I say, Josh, man, you take advantage of it while you can, man.
Yeah, man. You gotta like Kyle said, man, you gotta live and breathe becoming that guy that you hated playing against when you were the young guy.
Yeah.
Older dude that's just strong for no reason. Like that's what you gotta be, man.
Be a little insistent on the hacks when they drive. Like, hey, you only gonna get one time, young man. One time to dunk on me or cross me over. Next time I'm throwing something at you.
Absolutely, you'll get these E Honda hands quick.
Yeah, you just got your palms out, like,
man.
Oh man. Yeah, I figured I'd get a couple of interesting answers from y'all on that. So I'm glad we ended the show on that. So yeah, we gonna try to set a better example as a basketball show and play, and there's the winner too. Maybe like I say, maybe I'll get myself up in the winter, and by the time it's hot again next year, maybe I'll be in the shape I could actually do the running that I want to do, not just have to play half court games or 21.
Right.
Maybe I could run a full court or two by next summer. I definitely couldn't do that now. I know that. But anyway, we always gonna run full court when it comes to the mouth game, when it comes to talking. So you'll keep up with us here on YouTube and on WARR on Anchor, and we'll get back with y'all soon. Again, like I say, sort of playing it by ear here in this little for the next month or so, September, a little more of a down period, but like I said, pretty soon getting back to the camps and everything. Camp's gonna be in session in October, like 19th or something. I think is the first game. Like it's right around. It's pretty much around the corner already, man.
First preseason game against the Cavs. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
a great reunion. I like that. I like this.
Yes, and that's gonna be like the first week or two of October. So
is he gonna Trubisky us?
Oh man, yeah, I got some thoughts too with Trubisky. Trubisky came through and flamed the Bears, man. That was sad, man. That was sad.
Yeah,
but, Buffalo, that's a good. If you want to do like a future bet on Super Bowl team, that might be a good team to rock with as far as getting a good bet and getting a good return on it.
I mean, if Mitch gets a Super Bowl before we do, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's life, man. Life is not fair, man.
Not at
But
all.
that's the type of funny stuff that sports offers, man. So
Right.
but we gonna see how that goes in the football season, and like I said, we gonna keep up with stuff on the basketball side. Keep rocking with Josh, in the scope and everything, and he still puts out certain stuff with us on our Substack page, our writing side, and Drew, of course, is always out there with some good writing and everything, and good good views on Twitter and everything. Definitely follow his tag. You see the guys' tags up there, and Drew, getting podcast spots now. I guess Josh broke him in, and now he got other guys putting them on the show and stuff now, man. Drew gonna be Drew getting up there, man. He trending on us now, man.
Right.
You're gonna get that blue check in a minute.
Right.
Trying to be like Ken Davis, man.
Yeah, hey. We all try to be like Ken.
I swear.
Well, anyway,
Y'all, man, for real.
Yeah, we just gonna keep it moving, man. Like I said, we'll see y'all when we see y'all sooner rather than later. And in the meantime, y'all keep bouncing and enjoy the rest of this summer as we got it. And enjoy this holiday weekend. We won't see you before the holiday, definitely. So enjoy the holiday weekend. Be safe. And we'll holler at y'all soon, man. Like I say, keep it player, keep bouncing.